Alright everybody, I was asked to do a fitting video, so I'm going to go ahead and do that here. The player that asked has a Vindicator, so I'm going to start with that and then I'm going to do a couple of other ships. So, for the Vindicator, the first thing we're going to look at are what are its traits and what's it supposed to be doing. Here we can see that it's got the large hybrid turret tracking speed bonus and stasis web effectiveness bonus, along with a large hybrid turret damage bonus. That, given the fact that this already has slots for 8 large hybrids, is a lot of damage. This and these two bonuses make this an ideal ship for going against cruisers and possibly frigates. I haven't tested it against frigates, but it will definitely do a number on a cruiser, or even another battleship for that matter. So, the next thing I want to look at are my slot layouts. Generally, ships that have more low slots than they have mid slots are armor tanked. And vice versa. If you have more mid slots than low slots, you're probably going to shield tank. So, with that, let's start kind of looking at what I do. The first thing I always do, and this item goes on every ship I have, no exceptions, is the damage control unit. Now, this item goes on all of my ships because it does not suffer diminishing returns with other tank modules. So if you look here, or if you look up in here, using more than one module of the same type causes diminishing returns. You can only fit one damage control unit on a ship, and it gives you resistance to everything on all of your stats. So it is an amazing module for just about any ship you're gonna fly. So now we talked about this being an armor tank ship. When I armor tank, I like to passive tank. I like to passive fit my tank, and that's done using these energized plating. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to drop one of these energized adaptive nanomembrane 2s in there, which you're now going to see I have relatively good resist across the board. I would like to see my explosive damage resist go up just a little. So let's come down here and use a specific in that spot. So with that, we'll go ahead and close up that. These resists are a little lower than I normally like to see. I like to see a minimum of 60%. And as you can see, these are 59. It's not a huge deal, but it is just like I said, it is just that hair lower than I'd like it to be. Now we're gonna go and come check out our plates. So because this is a pirate battleship, these normally for me, these two here would generally be faction, and I'm gonna actually do that with my plates. So we're gonna look here at a couple of different faction plates. Alright, we can see here this one is roughly 5,200 extra hit points, and that is the Imperial Navy 1600. And we're going to look at the Federation Navy 1600 too, which is 5,000. So we're going to go with an Imperial Navy 1600 there. And then I'm going to leave the last, now I'm going to go and throw on a couple of weapons upgrades, leaving the last low slot for a little bit. I'm planning on putting another steel plate in there, but I'm not quite ready to do that because these plates tend to be very CPU intensive. Why an armor plate needs a CPU, I don't know, but that's video game logic. So while we have this open, we'll go ahead and open and sort strictly by a high slot. And we're going to come in here, throw 8 of these large neuron blaster 2s in there. Now if you look here, it's going to tell you I don't have everything I need to fly this ship. So what you see over here for damage and whatnot, it's going to be just a hair off. So we now have our guns taken care of. We will now look at our mid slots. So for this ship, we're going to go ahead and use an afterburner. You could use an MWD here too. Either one is really fine. It just kind of depends what you're fighting. I'm going to assume we're going to be fighting ships much smaller and brawler fit, so they're going to want to probably get in as close to scram range as possible. Now they're probably going to have webs too, so it might be a mute point in the end, but for now we're going to use the 100 MN afterburner. Now for our mids, we're going to come and look at our electronic warfare, and we're going to get our webs. And I want webs, not grapplers. And for this, again, we're going to look at faction. I believe the ones I want, yep. We want the Federation Navy stasis webifiers because they are going to hit out at 14 kilometers. That's huge for a web. The Tech 2 version only has a 10 kilometer range, so you got an extra 4 kilometers there. Now we're going to go to warp scramblers. And this, what we're going to do for a warp scram is going to actually eat up a ton of our power grid and CPU, as you can see here. So because of that, we're going to have to rig our ship a little bit. So because of that, let's come over here to the rigs real quick. If we get hybrid weapons, electronics. Was it engineering? I think it's engineering that we're looking for. So we need power grid. And is that it? Yep. So you want this large current router. And you might have to find someone to help you fit this item if you don't have the required skills. But you can use it once it's on your ship without having the skill. And that was not the right one. There we go. I still think that's not the right one. Yeah, there we go. Alright, now we have enough power grid to run everything that I want to be running. So let's come back here to the medium slots, or the mid slots. And you'll notice here that we only have have 3 minutes worth of cap. And you know, that's great if you're only fighting one enemy. But chances are, this is fucking Eve. You're going to be fighting more people than one. Chances are you're going to be outnumbered. So we're going to come to engineering equipment. And we're going to find heavy cap boosters. And we're just going to throw a Tech 2 heavy cap booster. And what that is, that's like That's like your shield booster or an armor repper, only it's for your capacitor. So we're going to go ahead and close all that. And now we left this one low slot. And I did that intentionally because I wanted to see how much CPU and power grid I had after I had everything else fit. So we're going to come back here to the low slots, come back to our hull and armor. And we're going to come over here and look at fitting requirements. This one uses 30 CPU and 550 megawatts of power. So that's a viable option. The Federation Navy steel plate. Let's look at the Imperial. Imperial is again a viable option. And it has a little bit more. So let's go ahead and throw on that second Imperial plate. Alright, now before we go back and finish off our rigs, I'm going to just throw charges in here real quick so you can kind of get a better idea. So what I normally do is I'll come down here for cap boosters. I'll start with Navy 800. Those make me 100% stable. But I can only get 6 of them in there. Like your guns, this is an item that will consume, quote, ammo. So I'm going to remove the 800s and let's drop them down to 400s. I'm still pretty stable with 400s at about 53%. So I'm going to leave the 400s in there. And I might keep, some 800s in my cargo hold in case I'm running into something that's putting nuke pressure on me. And then we can go and do that sort by charge type. So what I would probably run here for the blasters is this null. It's gonna give you shit for range. To give you an idea on this character, my fall off range is 12 kilometers. So I mean that's at the very max what I'm going to be able to hit at probably with this ship. But that's okay. If you look over here, we're looking at, almost 900 DPS, and I have no large blaster skills on this character. So I'm guessing large blaster skills. You should break 1,000 DPS by the time you get your large blaster, and then your large blaster specialization leveled to 4. Alright, so we now have everything except the rigs fit in. So let's come back over here to modules and we'll just sort out the rigs. So now it's kind of up to you. Do you want to hit a lot harder, or do you want to be able to take a little bit of punishment? So if we want to hit harder, we can come up here, and I think you're going to have to use a Tech 1 rig because you don't have the calibration to fit a Tech 2 rig for this. So we are looking collision accelerators, I believe what I like to use. Yeah, so this is going to increase the your raw damage. So let's go ahead and throw that on there, and that's going to eat up the entirety of our power of our calibration. But it's also going to give us, oh no, we can't because that would kill our power grid. We don't have enough power to do that. So we're not going to be able to do that. You might be able to drop these down to the God, God, what are they? If you dropped them down, you know, to ion blasters, you might be able to do that, but it's probably going to come out as kind of as a wash. So let's see, armor rigs, large armor. So we can definitely get a large tree mark armor pump on there. We can actually get 2, which is going to give us almost 150,000 EHP. That's a lot of armor for a ship to chew through. So with this fit, I would recommend, you know, running it more in a fleet. You could run it solo, and you'd probably be okay, as long as the other fleet isn't, you know, massively outnumbering you and have better tech level than you. The other thing you could do if you wanted to run this solo is unfit that one of your steel plates and put in a capless repper. This is going to be a slightly more expensive version to run, or thing to run. No, we're not going to be able to put on that capless repper. Can't even put on normal reps. Well, shit, I look like a fool now. So forget about using the reps altogether. Some ships you would be able to get away with that. I will show you a ship that I do that with here in a minute. So let's come over here. We'll go back. I'm gonna get out of that, and I'm gonna plug one of my favorite ships, and that is the Armageddon. This is, in my opinion, one of the most versatile ships in EVE. As far as battleships go, it is way, way, way underrated. So let's take a look at what it actually is supposed to do. So here is our show info and our traits. It has drone hit points and damage. It has energy, NOS, and Newt optimal range, and energy, NOS, and Newt fall off range. We're not really going to give two fucks about the Newts, or not the Newts, about the NOS, unless we're going up against battleships, or for whatever reason, if you're out in nullsec and going up against capitals. NOS, the way it works is, if they have more cap than you, it will leech their cap and give it to you. If you have more cap than them, it does absolutely nothing. So this is not going to be, NOS is not something you're going to use on this ship very often. Newts, yes please, yes please, yes please, yes please. So with that, the first thing I'm going to do is, I can see that we have 5 missiles and 5 turret hardpoints, which means its DPS in that realm can go either way. You can use it as a missile or gunboat. In this case, I'm going to use it as a missile boat. So we got missile launchers. We want to come to rapid heavy missile launchers. And we're just going to toss 5 of these rapid heavies on there. Now, for me, this is a great choice because I don't generally use this ship to fight other battleships. This, to me, is a ship that fights cruisers and frigates. Yes, I said frigates. And it could win. If you're going up against frigates, replace these with heavy light launchers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as you're using the right gun for the right size ship. Alright, we got that. Now we're going to come up here and find our engineering equipment. And we're going to find our energy newts. And go ahead and find the heavies. I don't generally use the Tech 2 heavies. Generally, I use these these heavy infectious scoped newts. They're a little bit cheaper. Well, we'll do a stat comparison here, just so you can kind of see. So, the Tech 2 cost more to activate. They have a shorter range. Ooh. Let's see. I want to make sure I clicked on this in the right way. Okay, there we go. I think the other one was on my thing. Again, sorry about that. So they cost the same to activate. The optimal range is only 2 kilometers difference. Your activation time is the same. Your newt, you got a little bit better newt with this Tech 2. And a little bit better fall off. Now for the fitting, the Tech 2 is going to be a little bit more power intensive. So I tend to lean towards these meta level ones instead of the Tech 2 ones, mostly because it kind of helps get newer players into them. If after you have it all fitted, you can fit the Tech 2s, go ahead. So now we have our highs fit out. Let's go back into our tank and fit that out. Again, this is going to be an armor tank ship. So we're going to come to Hull and Armor. I told you I love damage control units. First thing that goes on it is the damage control unit. Let's see. This one, I know I can fit one of these on here. So because I tend to look at this more as a solo or a ship that is used in fleets without Logi, I do throw that capless repper on, mostly because these eat up a good portion of my cap. I mean, if we turn that off, the ship with those 2 newts running only lasts 7 minutes. And I'm going to come over here real quick, throw the nanite repair paste in so this doesn't continue to show me the cap usage from this armor rep, because it only uses cap if it has no charge. In this case, since it has the nanite repair paste, it won't use cap. Let's take a look here real quick. Reload time. It uses 8 nanite paste per cycle. You have 64 in there. So I think that comes out to, 8 cycles before you have to reload. Now, something to keep in mind, the reload time on this is actually pretty long. So if they switch off of you before you're out of paste, go ahead and reload it, because that is a 60-second reload. Alright, now we come back here and we look. Our resist profile isn't where we like it. Again, I really like my armor tanks to be above 60%. So we're going to drop a couple of those in there. Awesome. That leaves us 3 low slots left to play with. Now, we are only at about 70,000 EHP. So let's go ahead and throw our Federation Navy plate on there. You can do that, or one of these rolled tungsten compact plates. They're not quite as good as the faction. You end up with about 1,000 left, but they're a lot cheaper. So depending on what you're using this for, and how much you trust the people flying with you, you can bling this out as much as you want. All right, with all of that there, this is a drone boat. So let's come to drone upgrades, and we'll throw a couple of drone damage amps in there. Alright, now we're ready to kind of move on to our mid slots with this ship. For this one, I'm going to recommend the 500 MN micro warp drive. Now, with this particular item, if you can afford it, we're going to come down here to the Dead Space ones. I believe it's the Type X. Has no capacitor capacity restriction. It does not take cap away from your ship. Whereas if we come up here to the Tech 2 version of it, it lowers your overall cap by 20%. So, for this, I'm going to put on this Core X-Type 500, just to kind of give you an idea what type of difference that makes. So, with the X-Type on, you're looking at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Compare that with the normal one, you have almost a full minute more worth of cap. That to me is a huge deal. I don't remember what these run. I thought I paid about 50 for it when I bought it. Ooh, I guess the market's saying it's almost 200 million. So we now have our propulsion mod. Got to keep this fat bastard moving. Now, again, I use this mostly for small fleet work. So, because it is a battleship, I generally use warp disruptors. This heavy warp scram is new, so let's see what happens. Let's see if we can actually work this heavy warp scram into the fit. And we'll come back here. And it looks like we might be able to work with this heavy warp scram in the fit. So because of that, again, we're putting a power grade rig on. I'm going to go ahead and leave that for now, because that's a scram strength of 6 with 10-kilometer range. Alright, let's go back to our mids. So we'll come back to our webs. And since this also has a 10-kilometer range, we'll just go ahead and use the Tech 2 to keep. And we're running out of CPU, so we're gonna go ahead and scrap that. I like the idea, but I don't necessarily want to lose this web for this. So we'll come to our disruptors. What's this heavy disruptor? It's got a 26-kilometer range. Oh, and it has a 3 scram strength. So what's its fitting requirements? 6,000 megawatts. And I don't have anywhere near the CPU I would need. If we take, yeah, even taking that off, so we're not going to do that. We'll throw a Warp Disruptor 2 on there. Come back here, throw our Tech 2 web. And it looks like we're going to run into a little bit of a CPU problem. So I'm going to finish putting on what I want in the mids, and then I'll deal with how to fix that CPU problem. For our mids, I definitely want a heavy cap booster. And for this one, I am going to use the Navy 800s. So we're gonna go ahead and drop the damage on this just a hair. Come here to engineering options. And I want to look at the power diagnostic system first. And we need CPU. Cap recharge, power grid, shield hit points, and cap capacity bonus. Not going to help us. If you're running into small power grid options, this could be a very, very solid choice. Power control, flux reactor control units. I think this is, again, not something we need. Yeah, this is just a much better electronics. There we go. CPU upgrades. So let's go ahead and throw a coprocessor on there. Problem fixed. A little less damage now, but we have a lot of really important stuff on there. So now we need our rigs. And there's a couple different ways you can rig this. I have used these hyperspace velocity optimizers before. They actually give a warp speed bonus. So it really helps you get around a lot faster. With that, you're looking, almost 3.5 AUs a second. That's one option. Another option, let's come up here to our armor rigs. And we can look at a couple of different things. Almost universally, I suggest if you're armor tank rigging, or you're rigging for an armor tank, put the tree mark armor pump on. It's going to boost your top end EHP. But also, because we have this repper, where is it? We can look at this nanobot accelerator, which is 20% duration bonus. That's not what I want. It's kind of nice. This is, I think, the one. Yeah, so this and the nano pump, which actually gives you 20% more hit points per cycle. So with those two in place, this has an 11-second cycle time. So you can either choose at this point to put another pump on and just make your repper repair a lot per cycle. In this case, it's 2,000 HP, not EHP, HP per cycle. So it would take roughly 9 cycles to completely repair this ship. That's pretty respectable. The other thing you can do is throw the nanobot accelerator on there and take your cycle from 11 seconds down to 9. You're going to lose about 300 HP rep to cycle. So you kind of want to, you'll have to decide, what am I fighting? What do I think it's going to be more important to do? Also, keep in mind, this does have a 60-second reload, so my preference is going to go to the nano pump. That way I'm getting the most bang per cycle. So let's come to charges. We'll do that. And, I mean, these are launchers. There's no particular bonus, missile bonus. So, I would say grab your Furies, and do a rainbow setup. It's one of the few missile boats that I will tell you to do a rainbow setup and not group your guns. But don't group your guns. Doing this, you're gonna hit your target's weakest resist, guaranteed, with at least one, and the strongest, so that'll even out. In the final launcher, honestly, swap out between the Jolnir, if you're damn it. You'll swap out between the Jolnir if you're working on their shield, and either the Scourge or the Nova if you're working on their armor. So I'm going to leave you guys with kind of that for now. I will be back with another video looking at some of my favorite shield tank ships to fly. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I will be putting out more videos related to EVE along with other games that I play. And have a great day, and go kill someone. It's EVE. That's what it's about.